Hello, welcome to the Plaid Sheep Oracle. This is a Halloween pick-a-card. I don't know what's going to come out. There's no question or anything that I asked. I'm hoping it's kind of fun. More treats than tricks. I don't have any specifically Halloween-themed decks, but I do have some sort of Halloween-y, Samhain-y, Scorpionic kind of things. So the choices for the decks come from my Mushroom Oracle. Then we have the Deep, Dark, Dangerous Oracle. This kind of Lost Soul Oracle. The Southern Gothic. And the Inner Temple. And I'm actually going to show you the bottoms of all the Oracle decks after I was done shuffling. I haven't looked at what was chosen for any pile, but I have looked at the bottoms and it's interesting, so I'm going to show you. Lion's Mane, Opulence, Wisdom, Care, Shadow with Depth, Inward, Initiation, Blue Moon, with Second Chances and Magic, the Darkest Night. Four choices. We have Gills, Individuality, Influence, Productivity. Pile 2, Healer, Trust, Compassion, Knowledge. Pile 3, Chef, Generous, Indulgent, Pleasure. And Chanterelle, Artful, Elegant, Vessel. Those are your four piles. All right, pile 1. Gills. Individuality, influence, productivity. There's also something very wave-like about it, right? We have this image, but then, right, you turn it on its side, and it's that. We are in this watery space. In fact, I think I want it to be this way. Maybe there's something about that, turning sideways. Oh, Selkie with freedom. Not like a fairy tale. Intriguingly. Of course, there's this double entendre there, the double meaning of the not. Psalm book, rejoice, faith. And the chamber of healing. Oh, that's very interesting. You know, with this Selkie, we have this person standing here on the ocean. Now, the story of the Selkie, in case you don't know, is that the Selkie came ashore, and the Selkies have the ability to remove their skin. And when they do that, then they're humans. So this female Selkie came out, she removed her skin. And there are various stories. There are some, you know, where she hides her skin, some where the skin is lost, some where a man comes along and steals her skin and hides it because he wants her to stay. And then there's, you know, various trials and tribulations until she recovers her skin and can return to the ocean. And with this not like a fairy tale I want to say that you don't have to do the whole thing. You are not actually in a fairy tale, at least not one that has already been written. Stories do have a kind of weight. They get repeated over and over and over again, and they acquire a kind of this weight of absolute truth. The received wisdom, it is this way. And you can get swept away by this. And I think the opportunity here with freedom and not like a fairy tale, and then this rejoicing and this healing, is that you don't have to do all of that. It is not necessary. Forget the story. Just forget it. Write your own news story. Write your own story where it isn't like a fairy tale, where there aren't trials and tribulations. You know, with this not like a fairy tale, and then this idea of the book, the writing your own book. If we write a book for other people, we want other people to enjoy. We might, you know, want various adventures. We want to have the, you know, the beginning and then the climax and then the denouement and all of these things. But if you're writing your own book for you, you don't have to do any of that. You don't have to adhere to any rule about anything. Just write the book. You know, if your book is all about how fantastic your life is all the time, then that's your book. You're not, you know, it doesn't need to become a bestseller or any of these things. Nobody else has to even, you know, realize that you're writing your own book. You know, there are some shows on television, if you've ever watched Good Witch, there's always, you know, there's some little problem that happens that needs to be solved. But rarely, you know, only on maybe a handful of occasions is it a very kind of dire problem. Most of the time, it's a silly little problem. Sometimes it even feels sort of, you know, extra silly. But there's something kind of nice about it, that there isn't, you know, these kind of big, you know, life-threatening, deep, gritty kinds of things. That it's fun to, you know, maybe read those in a book or watch it in a movie, but you don't actually really want to live that. So don't, right? Just you're the Selkie. You have the ability to swim in the oceans of consciousness and mysticism and all of that good stuff. And you can walk around on two legs and do things. You know, eat ice cream and make your bed and have dinner with friends and do these things. And you can do both. You don't have to lose your skin. Or maybe if you lost your skin for a little while, you just find it. It's, you know, it's in the bottom drawer somewhere. It's in the closet. You just, or you conjure a whole new skin. I mean, maybe that's in your story, that you lost your skin, it went somewhere, and then you realized, I can just get a new one. I can just make my own. I can just be healed. That's just the story that I have. Let's see what else we want to say here. Right? If you've been mooning about on the beach, mourning your lost skin, yeah, just go make a new one. Who cares what the story says? Right? Individuality, your own skin. It's a little dark here today. It's very rainy. Oh, look at that. It's the mushrooms. 10 of Earth. And there you are, the Craftsman of Fire, making your new skin. Just the way you like it. 6 of Fire. Right, there's some kind of, there's a meeting, there's a, like something coming together, something clicking into place. Craftsman of Water. Not waiting for the water, calling the water in. 7 of Water, there's the water. And the Witch of Air. I know, perhaps that's the revelation. Oh yeah, see, under the 10 of Earth is this journey. And that makes me think of another Terry Pratchett thing, where a character dies, and in his culture's belief system, you have to go to the end of the desert, and at the end of the desert are the answers. So he's out there, he finds himself in the desert. Death shows up and says to him, at the end of the desert is the answer. And he says, which end? So good. So good. Just have the answer. Skip the journey. Skip the journey through the desert. Right? Bring the water to you. Right? Maybe that's the revelation. Actually, we are having, it was exact yesterday, Mercury opposing Uranus. And it's going to happen twice more. At the end of November and then in December. A few days later. Because by that time, Uranus will be back in Taurus. So those two oppositions happen when Uranus is in Taurus and Mercury's in Scorpio. But maybe you don't have to wait. Maybe this one Mercury to Uranus opposition is enough. It's like, oh! You know, I was going to go on this whole long thing. And, you know, now I don't have to. I could just go off and do something else. Because your life is, in fact, not a fairy tale. At least not one that has already been written. Write your own. Write your own. Bring the water to you. Don't go looking for it. Pile 1. Oh, pile 1. That's very much a treat. Pile 2. Healer. Trust, compassion, knowledge. I mean, here it looks a little bit like he's trying to stop that serpent from eating the butterfly. I'm not sure what that's about. Now, is that for the sake of the butterfly or the sake of the serpent? Let's see. Oh, Circe with alchemy. Misted promenade. The armadillo basket. Grounding. Fierce protection. And ancestral healing. feels like a journey. Like you're going to go on a trip. You know, she's got this ship in the background, presumably one of Odysseus's ships, or Odysseus's ship, all the men here are pigs. She turned Odysseus's men into pigs. But she's got this ship, and then there's this misted promenade. You know, I think when you leave, if you're leaving on a ship from San Francisco Harbor, you pass under the Golden Gate Bridge to head out to open sea. And then the armadillo basket is like luggage. Like what you're packing a little bag. Now it is a very little bag. So it may be that this is just a short sort of journey that you're taking. I don't know, going home to see your family? Or possibly it's an inner trip. You know, now that I'm looking at this, I feel like what I feel like is that the serpent is looking to eat this butterfly in order to make the transformation happen. And this angel saying, no, that's not the way. Eating the butterfly will not create the change and transformation that you want. There's some other journey of some kind into the fog, through the fog, out to the other side. I don't know, this is much more mysterious than pile one. Right, that this python thinks that eating the butterfly is medicine, but it isn't really. Oh, you know, and now, usually when we talk about ancestral healing, we mean that our actions, that if we heal, that can, you know, kind of move backward through ancestry, that we heal these ancestral wounds. But now it's coming through in the reverse. That the ancestors are doing the healing. They don't require your effort on their behalf. They have all the healing that they or you need. You know, because they're all back with Source. They have the advantage of, you know, the longer vision. I'm also thinking, you know, not near ancestors. You know, that's usually the kind of nasty stuff. Those grandparents, great-grandparents, maybe great-great-grandparents, you know, going back 100 or maybe 200 years. But if you go way back, way back, it's a different thing. Oh yeah, Three of Swords. That open heart. Nine of Wands on the bottom. The Star. The Angel de la Nuit. This is an extra card in this deck. It is the whole self. The healed self, if we want to say that. The Moon. And the Wheel. Oh my goodness. So the answer here, I think, or the deal here, is that there's nothing that you need to do in order to have this healing experience. You don't have to go around and find the right butterfly to eat. You don't have to do, you know, a whole series of rituals. You don't have to alchemize your life. That you allow the ancestral energy to provide that healing. You're just going to go on a little trip. Now that might mean literally maybe you go somewhere overnight by yourself. Maybe you take a day where you're just very quiet and you're not doing anything. I mean, whatever you maybe like to do, you have a nice breakfast, you read a book, you take a walk. If you're me, you do some knitting. Right? Maybe you pack a lunch. Letting the energies, I have this issue with words that we use a lot, like allow. This word shows up in spiritual circles frequently. You know, that we need to allow, we need to receive. And I wish I had some other word, because I want it to be less like a thing that you do. You're not focusing on this. This is going to happen. Your only job kind of is to not get in the way by like trying to be involved. You are not involved. You know, if you ever had a massage, or maybe if you've gone to have your hair cut and you get the stylist washes your hair, you're not getting in there with your hands to try and wash your hair. You're just there. You know, maybe while she's cutting your hair, you're not even having a conversation with her. You're reading a magazine. And you look up and it's gorgeous. The Wheel. Right? All of these are really, they're cards of not doing anything. I mean, even this one, she's just there. And actually right below that is this particular Six of Swords, who's going nowhere. She's just sitting in place. And then we actually also have the Lovers with, right, you and the ancestors and your guides and whoever else. Right? You are not You are not doing anything. Go do something else. You know, like the Python here, which is you, is, you know, wanting to be involved. The angel is here to heal. Just shh. Do nothing that is associated with this. Pile 2. Go find other things to do. Go find other things to do while this goes on. Pile 2. I don't have anything else to say about that. Pile 3. Chef. Generous, indulgent, pleasure. Oh, Scylla says resilience. Covenant of regret. Oh. Oh, the peach. Fertility and love. Oh, and the destiny life versus the fated life. Oh. So interesting, particularly in contrast to pile 2. The way out is to indulge yourself. To eat peaches, or whatever the equivalent of the moment is. To choose. As the chef chooses what goes in a meal. This card, so Scylla, the story is she was a woman, terrible things happen, she becomes a monster, she gets killed by somebody, but then she's brought back to life. And there's all kinds of things in there with regret and all these things. But she shows up a lot in the Odyssey in relationship to Charybdis, which is a whirlpool. And Odysseus has to sail between Scylla and Charybdis. She lives on an island. He chooses to sail closer to her because the whirlpool is just the whirlpool. There's nothing you can do about that. Whereas you can, sort of engage with this monster creature. So there's a sense, of being caught between Scylla and Charybdis, that you have no really good choices. And here too, with this covenant of regret, that these two figures are kind of separating from one another. There's this kind of feeling of, not being able to come to some resolution. We're just leaving the field where there's no way out. And the answer here is yes, there is a way out. It's just not to sail between Scylla and Charybdis. It's not to wrestle with these things. It's to choose those things deliberately that you want to have in your meal. To write your own destiny, to choose your own adventure. that an idea that you have no choice is just one point of view. There is a sense, too, of an interlude, maybe. I mean, we kind of have that in pile 2 as well, a little bit. This sense that maybe we're in an interlude. We are approaching a Mercury retrograde. We're in this really watery period. If you live in the Northern Hemisphere, we're entering into a time when the energy is lower, closer to the ground, I want to say. It's like it's concentrating. You know, it pulls out of the leaves and the leaves fall. So it isn't, you know, it isn't that in the winter that there is less energy. It's just that it pulls back. You know, like the tide going out, or the energy returning down into the soil, into the roots, into the center. There is a kind of pause feeling, or interlude feeling. Let's see what else. What's the tarot? How does the tarot want to expand on this? The King of Swords, authority. Well, yeah. Oh, and the Ace of Wands on the bottom. Waiting in the wings. The Ace of Wands, waiting in the wings. Who's under you? Oh, yeah, see? The Magician. I mean, both of these cards are cards of authority, of making choices. And the Nine of Cups as well. Of not thinking yourself trapped. Page of Princess of Cups with dreams. 10 of Cups, harmony. Prince of Cups, introspection. And the 10 of Discs, establishment. The way of creation is through pleasure, through harmony, through dreams, through introspection that is pleasant. You know, he's not, you know, going on some deep shadow journey here. You know, I feel like he's imagining the most glorious meal that he's going to make for himself, or, you know, for himself and others. He's imagining, that he's spending his time imagining that. You know, if you've ever seen or read Babette's Feast, right? She's an artist and she wants to make this creation. But one can imagine, you know, that she had just a wonderful time thinking about it all. You know, I have a friend who loves the winter solstice very much. She has a party every year, and she just loves the whole thing. You know, decorating the house and planning all the food and inviting everybody, and then she really enjoys the thing itself. That's the path, not between Scylla and Charybdis. Right, that leads to this Ten of Pentacles. And I want to say with this word, the establishment, I want to say that it, you know, that it is there. It is established. So enjoy things. Don't, I never like to be prescriptive, but it's difficult not to do what you want. Do what you want. Enjoy yourself. Have pleasure. Without thinking about it a lot. Right? Take your mind back from shoulds and regrets and other people's ideas about what might lie ahead, you know, people's ideas about what is or is not fated, or any of that stuff. Pleasure is the way through. And, you know, kind of happy pleasure, like childlike pleasure. Real pleasure. Often when we talk about pleasure, we think we're talking about ways that we numb ourselves. You know, drinking a lot, or eating an entire pint of Ben and Jerry's while watching some tearjerker, or, you know, spend all day just lying in bed under the covers, or, you know, spending our savings on something, or, you know, these kinds of things that aren't really pleasure. They're ways that we try to get out. Right? They're numbing or yeah, I would say mostly numbing strategies, not actually pleasure. You wouldn't really experience pleasure, I think, you know, from eating a whole bag of Oreos. Right? Real pleasure. True enjoyment. You know, the way a child, or even better, the way an animal enjoys things. Without any prescriptive ideas or undercurrents. These are very interesting readings, pile 3. And there's certainly been a lot of this water running through them. Pile 4. Chanterelle. Artful, elegant vessel. Oh, the puka with mischief. Floating in the storm. Axe. Division, lessening. Plenty versus scarcity. Oh. You know, there's something, how this is coming through is something wanting to get out. You know, the puka is a shape-shifting energy. And I want to say that you have been in the wrong outfit, pile 4. And I mean this in a broad sense, in many different ways. You know, maybe you've been very logical, very reasonable, very practical about things. But that's just, it's like you're in the wrong costume. Or you've been wearing a costume all this time. And in fact, this Halloween, we want to take your costume off. That there is, with this floating in the storm, this gorgeous red, you know, this gown that she's wearing, you know, all of this emotion, this fire, this passion that wants to come out and be seen and felt. You know, you've been in this, you know, sort of small, confined existence. And that is underneath. And even this axe, I mean, what I'm noticing is that to me it looks like, I don't know if that's what it is, but it looks as if, you know, the axe has like scroll work on it. You know, if you've ever gone to a museum and seen weapons from the past, they often have really beautiful scroll work on the blade. It's often a feature of weapons in fantasy stories. In Lord of the Rings, when Narsil gets reforged, you know, it's got this beautiful hilt. You know, and there's scroll work or carving, etching on the blade. And even in the tools in general. If you've gone to a museum, if you go to a one that has everyday objects, combs made out of ivory or bone, serving vessels and spoons and other, you know, utensils that all have beautiful metalwork done on them. You know, things were beautiful. Everyday objects were made with care and love to be beautiful. And we've lost that. We go, you know, we have plastic combs stamped out by the millions. You know, and if it breaks or we lose it, we just buy another one for $2. And there's a loss there. There's been a loss, I think, of elegance, of dignity, of beauty in the world. You know, that only special things are beautiful, the way that people have special china that only comes out at Christmas or whenever. I think it used to be that everything was special. This is coming back to that. I mean, there might be with the axe. It's a little bit of a sort of a Marie Kondo kind of idea to, you know, to kind of clear things out, to keep only those things that feel really good. You know, even if, I want to say, even if you get down to, you know, having only a handful of anything, to just go through your house and let go of anything that doesn't give you joy, anything that, you know, was bought because it was cheap, anything that you kept because, well, maybe I might need it later, anything that you bought because it was kind of the best thing that you could find, and so you bought it. It was a compromise. Anything you bought in a kind of wanting to be this thing way, you know, that you bought some, you know, I don't know, crisp button-down shirts, or you know, you got yourself a capsule wardrobe so that it would always be easy to get dressed in the morning. You know, you bought a bunch of things in cream and beige and black and other neutral shades so that you could just, you know, put on your pants and your black turtleneck or whatever it is. And yeah, I mean, maybe you even bought some really nice things. They might have even been, you know, cashmere black turtlenecks. But then every time you put one on, it's this, right? You know, this, right? This goat is crying out. You know, every time you eat that, you know, quinoa salad, every time you do the really practical thing, that there's some little part of you that dies. Pile 4. Well, let's see. Is this the deck we want? Just to be sure. Yes. Right? How many times have you bought something on sale and never used it? So it might be better just not to have it at all. Right? And that's an energy that gets put out into the world every time you do it. Yeah, 4 of Earth. Not surprised to see it. But the 9 of Water, 9 of Cups on the underside, wanting to get seen. Who's under there? Oh, yeah, the Hierophant. But then below that is the 10 of Earth with the Plenty. 4 Fire. Queen of Air. Ace of Earth. And the Page of Fire. So here you are being let out of whatever this incorrect outfit is. Now, this, of course, I am not in any way casting aspersions on anybody who loves a really good fitting pair of chinos and cashmere turtleneck and feels great wearing it. For anybody who really enjoys and savors quinoa salad. But I think if you're here, pile 4, if you are in this reading, then these things are not for you. This is not chinos and a black turtleneck, regardless of its fineness. You are not, if you go to the theater, I'm going to say, do not just wear jeans and a shirt, even if they're nice. Dress up, pile 4. I knew someone whose mother always said, don't go out without lipstick. Don't go out without lipstick, pile 4. I want to say that even if you're just going to the store to buy a quart of milk or a loaf of bread, and you're just taking the dog out for a walk in the early morning, whatever the equivalent is for you, don't go out without lipstick. Because there's something about that. There's something about that that is, it's like bad juju. It's like a pall. Every time you choose, it's like choosing scarcity. Scarcity of time, even. You know, if you're thinking, well, you know, I'm getting up to go and walk the dog, I need to just throw on the nearest thing because it'll be quicker. That's a scarcity too. So you're being released from this, coming into true discernment. You know, this is this Virgo-Pisces axis. Choosing, being very particular about what suits you. And then the Pisces end of it is the faith that you will have it. You know, it may not even be a matter of money for you, for all I know. I had an aunt, she actually had plenty of money. But she'd grown up in this kind of space of scarcity. So she had all these canned goods in her basement. You know, just in case. You know, and her clothes were, you know, they were very practical. You know, perfectly fine. They were decent quality. But she never indulged herself. And she seemed to be fine this way. I don't know. Perhaps for her that was fine. But it is not for you. And if you don't have money, if you feel as if there are no resources, right? They're here, beyond faith. Right? We also have the Six of Fire. So beyond this choosing, we have the Ace of Earth. And then the Page of Fire. Right? Like here you are in the outfit. Right? You came out of here, you seem, I don't know what you're wearing, maybe white, or perhaps you're even naked inside this cocoon, and we've brought you out. You know, here you've got, you know, kind of neutral clothes. There's snow on the ground. You're kind of crouched there in this gray landscape. And then here you are at the other end. And I want to say don't spend money just for the sake of it. This is about choices. You know, it may not be that the, you know, $500 pair of shoes are better than the $50 pair of shoes, depending on, you know, what they are. You don't have to buy everything all at once. You don't have to, you know, get an entire new wardrobe at once. In fact, that's kind of antithetical to this. This isn't only about having those things that you love and that suit you, but it's also about the pleasure of acquiring them, of having them show up. The pleasure of that process, right? That in and of itself is an art. Pile 4. Right? This is just a beginning. This is a beginning energy, this Page of Fire. There is more to come. Oh, pile 4. You're going to enjoy this. Pile 4. That is what I say. I wish all of you a very, very happy Halloween and Samhain season. And I will see you next time. So long.